Hi folks, so tomorrow I fly out to Canada to start the Eastern Divide Trail, and I thought I'd give you a bit of a bike check because I've got a pretty unique bike with some pretty niche bits on the build, so it could be quite useful to a lot of people. Let's have a think about the bike and everything I've got. The heart of the build is this Mason Macro, which is a aluminium. It's all dead-sided tubes, custom mountain bike. When Don was building it up, he built it as sort of a pretty configurable bike in mind. So I've used it with flat handlebars before for the Arizona Trail, and drop handlebars when I did the what's it called? Dale's Divide FKT earlier in the year. So it's pretty configurable. It's a really light frame actually. I really like it, and it's got a brand new frame with a new paint job, which is sparkly when you get it in the light. So that's pretty cool. The build on it is pretty unique as well. The obvious thing is this low fork. So the leaf spring fork gives, I think, normally 60 mil of travel, and is sort of the bit that's pretty striking about this build. Why have I done that? Well, the Eastern Divide Trail is almost 10,000 k. I think it's like 6,000 miles nominally on paper, but it always ends up being a little bit longer. And a telescopic fork is not going to last that distance. Ultimately, it is going to need servicing. On paper they say it needs servicing every 50 hours, I think. So there's no way it's going to last, and you're just at the end of it just being carrying around a heavy fork. So this one, with no sticks in it as well, is going to be quite comfortable all the way down in theory, and it's pretty light. Also, I think the black looks pretty cool on this build. The rest of the build is the SRAM transmission stuff. So it's GX transmission. I only got this bike last week. It seems to work, but I shift smoothly. There we go, hopefully it lasts. Apparently it's pretty durable, which is why I opted to go for this one. What I have done is put the new force levers on it, which are way more comfy than the old one, and the brakes are better than the last levers as well. So those are a big sort of upgrade over the last setup which I had before. Other little bits of comfort on there is the saddle, which is a specialized something or other. It's one of the 3D printed ones. It was crazy expensive, but it fits my bum, and I've never had any issues with it. I'm also running one of these Ergon or maybe Canyon seat posts that gives quite a bit of deflection in that, just to give a little bit more comfort at the back as well. At the front, the setup is Ritchie Venture Max, which are 40 mil. It's pretty narrow for like a bikepacking bar, but I quite like it because that's sort of where my hands sort of sit naturally. And then these Use aero bars, I forget which ones they are, but they're the carbon ones with the risers in them, and they're super comfy. Hopefully I'm going to get some shifters to put at the end of it, but I ordered them a while ago and they haven't arrived, and it's the day before I fly out, so we'll never know. Other little bits of the build. So the wheel and tire combo. Wheels are Hunt. Been running Hunts for ages. These are the proven Dynamo wheels, which have a cracking rim. I think it's 30 mil internal, and they set up really well, nice and light. Obviously running a dynamo, which is an essential, which powers my gadgets, and then my Exposure Revo up front. And then mount on them with inserts front and rear are these Conti dubs, which are sort of the new Race Kings. The specific ones are the 2.4, I can't remember the exact model. They're the ones that are like the faster compound, but with more protection, if that makes any sense. So they come in like 2 different Avisha ones, and they seem to be really fast. I've only done 30k on them so far, but they seem to work. And yeah, hopefully they last. I'm probably going to need to swap tyres out at least once, hopefully not twice. Yeah, so let's sort of go from the back to the front in terms of what I'm carrying, and we can talk about that. So the back, I've got something new going on. So I've got a restrap rack, which this is a production model, or like pre-production one. They should be available in the near future. I don't know when, but they seem to work. And I've decided to go for this just because it's a little bit more carrying capacity than a saddlebag. And I need that because I am running a tent this year. So this is all my sleeping kit, which looks quite big, but when you weigh it, it's like 1.2 kilos for everything. So tent, sleeping bag, sleeping mat, pillow, and pegs, and all that jazz. So in it, it's not packed very small, because there's no point packing things really small when you first start, because you're not going to be able to do that on the trail. I have my tent and my sleeping bag and my mat all rolled up into one, like I would with the bivvy. This is the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Mid One, so it's one of these trekking pole tents. It's like 400 grams for the tent, so about the weight of a bivvy. Cons are that it takes a while to pitch, like 5 minutes, but you need to find somewhere, which is the harder bit. But it means that in theory you'll get a better night's sleep. There will be fewer bugs. Sleeping in a bivvy in the rain sucks. If you've ever tried it, it's perfectly doable. I'd just rather not do it for 40 nights on the trot. So that's the tent. The sleeping bag is a Sea to Summit Spark that I must have spent like 150 nights in. I use it so much. And then a new mat, which is not the Thermarest Uberlight, because they've stopped making those because they are like paper. My one had about 30 holes in it that I repaired. And instead I've got the Nemo Tensor, which is just as light. I've only spent 1 ounce on it. Seems to work. Quite slippery, but that's all in there. I can't be able to get it out now. Also in here I have the the pole that you need to use it as well. You can use a trekking pole, but this is the one that Hyperlight actually made for it, so that should all be fine. And my pegs as well, which I didn't put back, but they are here, which are some carbon fibre ones from AliExpress, which seems to do the trick. Okay. And then on the side I've got the water bottles as well. This is another reason for using the rack, because you can put water bottles on the sides, because with the full frame bag, obviously you can't do that. These, incidentally, are the Elite Flies with the cap, and they are the best water bottles. I'm starting with new water bottles, which is nice, because you don't want all the crud going in your mouth and all that jazz. Okay, on to the let's do the main compartments. So at the bottom, this is like spares and repairs. I've got a tiny little first aid kit, well, not that tiny, but bigger than I'd often take, which has got like a bandage, some pills, what else? Nothing you wouldn't expect, except maybe lidocaine cream, like Emila. That's really useful to have, because if you've got a saddle fault, so that's a numbing agent, if you didn't know, like that's it's like the anaesthetic that you use if you're having stitches. So that's really useful if you've got really bad saddle sores, and it just helps them go away for a bit. Helps the pain go away. It doesn't cure them, it helps the pain. So lidocaine is always useful. And I've got the whole heap of other like expected things in there. This is my toolkit, and in it has everything which you might expect. I've got a bunch of spare brake pads, tire levers, loads of dyno plugs, spare bolts for everything, patches, a sewing kit. This one uses a curved needle and waxed cotton thread, so it's like a leather working kit, which I always find the best. That's mostly good for sewing up tyres. What else I've got in here? I've got a fibre fix spoke, which is pretty handy if you need if you break a spoke, which I haven't done for ages actually. Everything else you'd expect as well. yeah, so spares and repairs. Hopefully I won't need that at all, but you never know. I have my pump. This is a wolf tooth. I can't remember which one they do. It's a 40cc. It's got a multi-tool in the bottom of it. It's quite nice, well made. It was quite expensive, but seems to work. Instead, I actually managed to inflate the tyres up tubeless with this earlier today. Although I think that's more of a comment on how the tyres and rims match really well, rather than this pump, because I wasn't pumping fast. But it is always good when you can inflate things tubeless with a mini pump. I have some spare sealant and then some TPU tubes, 3 here actually. I doubt I'll use them because like you can go so far with tyres, like with tubeless, and like sewing up and stuff. Like on the Arizona Trail I set up a cut like that big and made that work, so it'll probably be fine. But anyway, you still got to have tubes. You can't not take any of the tubes. That'd be stupid. Into this one, which is a little bit of a mismatch, I've got a bunch of spare cables. Like I've got my ETAP charger. This is some spare batteries and cables and things, like a charger. I've got like a 100-watt charger in here, like a wall charger, which is good because if you're staying somewhere for only a few hours, you want to be able to charge up really quickly. I have a headlight. This one is a flex tail one, 600 lumens. Got 2 bulbs, one with like a spotlight and more of a floodlight, which is pretty handy. I have sun cream, which is the Ryman sun cream, so really good. Spare batteries, tape and repairy things in there as well. And then a couple of bits of clothing. So all my clothing's from Le Col. And this is the stuff that I might need sort of relatively quickly. So I've got some long finger gloves, not like deep winter gloves or anything, but you know, a bit of warmth on the hands is always good. And then merino arm and leg warmers, which is from their ARC range. And also, what else have I got in here? Oh, I've got my charger. This is a sine wave Revolution, which I've had over about 5 years and seems to work pretty well. And I use one of these like 3-thing cables, which is pretty handy. I'll put that back in there. So that's in there. The other side I've got a spork, which is handy for eating meals, or if you buy like a tub of ice cream. A little cable lock thing that, you know, it might just deter someone. And then some Silka chain wax, like drip stuff. That's what I'm using for the chain, by the way. So I'm starting it with, I did a hot wax with the endurance chip, and hopefully that will last a little bit, but I'll be topping up every night with that. I probably will need to switch to oil at some point, but we will see how we go. And that's also where I have some other little bits and bobs. I've got a spare Restrap fast strap in here. A few other things. Like there's not too much stuff in those bags. They're pretty like sparsely packed for now. I always like to leave loads of slack in my bags because you're going to fill it up with stuff. You're never going to pack everything as neat as possible. You see all these people starting these ultras and they have everything in these nice little neat bags, which looks really nice. And it looks like they carry nothing. But as soon as they start going, it all just sort of explodes everywhere. Top tube pouch has very little in it as well. That will mostly be for food. I'll also have some battery packs in here, but they're charging at the moment. And a spare Garmin. Garmin wise, I'm using the Edge 1040 Solar, which is pretty good for navigation. Other bits and bobs, I've got my tracker, which is a Garmin InReach Mini 2. These pouches are mostly empty. I've got some chamois cream in one of them. I don't know whether it will stay there or not. My toothbrush and toothpaste. My Insta360, because I'm going to be trying to capture some video. I use one of these little magnetic plates, so I can just click it on here. Do whatever I need, you know, move it around and then take it off, instead of having to have it there the whole time. And I think that's it for the main compartments really. And then on to the front roll. So this is a relatively new front roll from Restrap, which is now got the, I think this harness is the same, but it's got side entries, which is quite handy sometimes, and Velcro added to actually both this and the harness. So let's have a look at what I've got on here. This is kit that I might not need the whole time. So like it's most of this clothing again. So I've got my Gore-Tex jacket, which is a Locol Arc one. It's Pertex material. It is nice and warm. Got a good hood, like a proper one. Not some tiny little road jacket in here. I've got this piece of kit, which is sort of my main warm kit actually. This is the Locol, I think it's just, they call it a thermal insulated jacket or something like this. It's mostly wind, it's from the Pro range. It's mostly this windproof material, but it's got some of these panels of the Primaloft Alpha fluffy stuff. So that's really warm. I really like it. It's a really good bit of kit, really packable as well. And yeah, works a treat. Also in here, I have some Gore-Tex trousers, but I haven't got them with me at the moment. And then emergency bivvy, which is always worth having. You never know when you're going to need it. Even if you've got a tent, you can't always put the tent up. Even if you do, if you're soaked, you just want an extra layer of insulation. And that can be really good, doesn't weigh anything. And then finally in here, I've actually got a spare tyre as well. This is a Conti Race King in a 2.2. Because if you get a massive sidewall slash, you want to, I don't want to have to be walking for ages. It's like 500 grams or so. And, it's had a bit of use in it already. But I think it's worth the wait just for an extra bit of peace of mind. Because I'm going to need to replace tyres anyway, I said. So I might as well have a spare one. If I can't find one to replace, at least I can stick on the back or something for a bit. And I'm pretty confident I can set it up tubeless on the road as well. So that's good. And that is everything I've got, I think. There's a couple of things that I might be missing in there. But I think it's pretty much everything. Well, so I haven't mentioned. Do I do light? I don't think I've done lights. So lighting is pretty simple. So the front is a exposure Revo dynamo light, and then I've also got a one of the traces here just in case. It's nice and useful. And on the back I've got a trace R as well and a spare because those are really useful and they weigh next to nothing. And that is pretty much my setup. I'm probably one of the few people who's actually done like a long, really long ITT, bikepacking ITT. Obviously Logan did it last year. He's got the current record, which is a hair over 41 days. So that's the goal. And so I learned a lot from the European Divide. I'm probably carrying slightly less stuff than I had on European Divide Trail. But so I've learned a lot from that. I think the main thing is the suspension fork, which will make a big difference. I've been preparing reasonably hard for it. To be honest, I'm not in like the sharpest shape I've ever been. Like we're moving house at the moment, and I've been really busy. But I'm hoping to be able to ride into fitness. Like earlier in the year I was flying, so I've got a bit of residual fitness there as well. I've been eating loads as well. Like when I did European Divide Trail, EDT, 2 EDTs, who came up with that? When I did the European Divide Trail, I lost about 10 kilos. So I'm starting nice and well over my race weight, like probably 10 kilos over race weight, like final race weight. So that would be nice. Or has been nice, just eating loads. Anyway, if you've got any questions about the build or the kit or anything in particular, leave it in a comment. I can't promise that I'll be able to reply to it straight away because I'm going to be racing as of the day after tomorrow. So I start on Thursday the 31st of July. And there should be a tracker through Track Leaders, and I'll link to it below and in my bio and all that jazz, or you can just find it on Track Leaders. But yeah, I can't wait. It's a good build. I'm looking forward to riding it, and I'll probably do like a debrief after it as well. other than that, any questions, just let me know, and I will catch you guys later. Ciao.